What do you mean by hit record status?
Okay, I'll tell you this. I won't even go so far as to call it hit a gold record or a million Spotify streams, which whatever the fuck that means. I'm talking more about a record that gets played by everybody in our community. The hip hop community has always been tight, and that form of music has moved forward like a locomotive for one reason. Everybody's on board. If Busta Rhymes comes out with a record that's hot tomorrow, produced by whoever the fuck it is, whether it's Pharrell for the moment, whoever it is, everybody who plays hip hop is playing that record across the board. You go to Power 105, Power in LA, Hot 97, Funk Man Selects. Everybody's playing that record. Now, Lenny Fontana comes out with a house record that's got a buzz going. Louie might not play it. Timmy might not play it. Tenaglia might not play it. MK's doing fucking raves for 1 million people. He may not play it. So we don't have that. Lenny plays Lenny. MK plays MK. Louie's playing Louie. Todd's playing Todd. So we have a community that's sitting there. Oh, yeah, we're going to stick together. Oh, yeah, house is going to be the new thing. Yeah, no, not going to be nothing. We're getting further and further away from ever having.
So you mean you mean fragmentation is basically what happens? It's all fragmented now.
Well, listen, I think there were you get a couple of records that kind of seep in the crowd. Oh wow, this guy also played. Oh wow, this guy played it. But there aren't many. I think the house scene is very broken up, and now everybody's a producer. I mean, we used to say this in the late '90s. When I started making records in '93. There was a part of like, oh shit, like I could actually make a record now. And I actually have a little bit of a fucking brain. Like I can't even imagine the way today is. I mean, everybody gets the same computer, same program, same plugins, everything sounds the same. That's another thing. We're not getting hit records because we're not getting different records. Every record I had success with was a different sound. The Bomb, different. Funk Phenomena, different. Tori Amos, different. Everything but the Girl. Well, that's not really different, but it was Todd being whatever the fuck he was doing. But the point was everybody had different equipment. So when I would get a demo from Armand or whoever it would be, it's like, oh shit, like you can tell there were different things working. You get a demo today from those same 20 guys, they all sound the same. Everything's clean. Everything's got the 8-bar thing. There's nothing that's disrupting the quantization of whatever the computer's doing for you. The computer is correcting your mistakes. That some of those mistakes used to work. Some of the distortion used to work. Things that you were doing in your bedroom that you couldn't control. That might have, the dirt of an SP1200.
Or that hum.
That was part of it. Furious George on my label, my boy, me and Nicky always laugh. I'm like, he used to, on one of the records he gave us, like on the SP1200, it kind of corrects everything. And he used to give us these demos. On one side, would be like, and he like, the thing would miss. I'm like, I don't even know that that's possible. You could do that. But that was the beauty. I love that because it was so raw and it was so not polished. And that was, listen, the funniest thing is when Armand took the John Nick record, The Captain, to make You Don't Know Me, that was a demo. Nicky brought that demo to my office. And I said, oh, that shit's fire. He goes, what do you mean? I says, we got to put that out. He goes, there's flange in the whole fucking thing. I said, no, we got to put that out. And then Nicky, I got to say, he always like, I can do whatever I want to do. So I put that out on Todd's label with the flange going throughout the whole fucking thing. It was like a demo. And Armand called up and goes, yo, man, I did this track. I used that record you did. And like, who the fuck expected that to turn into what it turned into? But that was a demo that Nicky did. And if you listen to the original, there's flange going through the whole, we didn't even fucking mix it. But it was the groove and it was undeniable. And I think that's still what gets me excited. I get demos all the time. I basically tell people, listen, if you give me something that I could do, I'm probably not going to want it. But if you give me something I never thought of, I'll put that out. So you flip a disco record when it's something I never thought of, you got it. We'll put that out. But if you're going to give me just a generic fucking 8-bar loop of the night the lights went out, that's not going to get me excited. But, because Nikki and I mean, there aren't many records that we haven't touched. So I like to see when people dig a little deeper and get crazier with this, sample tracks and stuff. Like, there is an art to it. Nikki and I say this all the time. So many people in our genre have changed to try to accommodate people. Oh, the cutters are hot. Oh, ooh, tech. Ooh. And everybody's trying to chase the next thing. Nikki and I are making the same fucking records since 93. If you like them, come. We welcome you there. If you don't like them, don't fucking buy them. End of story. I'm not going to try to accommodate some 17-year-old kid who just found out about our house records through some fucking nonsense guy in his area. I don't accommodate that.
See what I told everybody?
You come to me.
See what I told you all?
Nikki and
see what I said? He's not going to hold back.
Hey,
see what I was
listen, if Nikki and I make a record 20 years from now, they're going to be the same records. You like them? Come get them. They're beautiful. You don't like them? Go to somebody else.
I can't even go into this yet. I need to roll the tapes.
Let's roll back. We got
the reel to reel. Bring the reel to reel back. I got to go back to the Plaza Suite. You went way too far.
Yes.
You're way too killing me over here. I'm going, got to keep you on track because I need to get all of it. Okay.
Yes.
You work 3 switches. You get the DJ.
Yes.
His sister's Sweet 16. You move forward. I guess you start doing mobile work. Come on.
Well, I was doing mobile even before I met Danny early on. So from 80 to 82, I was doing a lot of mobile. Once I got the taste in the club, obviously, it was hard to go back to the mobile head. But I still had mobile work that I would do, obviously, for money. I mean, back then, a couple of $100, and that was a big situation. Plus, having a record habit, my drug habit was records. You need to pay off the records and stuff. So, I was doing that, and I kept, and I try to make different connections with record people and DJs. The one thing I will say is, everybody's a DJ today. When I first started spinning 79, 1980 in Brooklyn, I got to tell you, there had to be 40, 50 DJs in the neighborhood. Like, I look back and say, shit, we had so many DJs, and, there were some good ones. There were a couple, but I made a lot of friends. My boy Sal De Benedetto, which, we were 10, 11 years old. We were still boys, and, we met for music. I met Nikki actually in 82. I knew of Nikki, but we actually connected in 82. But yeah, I always met. And the other thing was I wrote graffiti for a long time. And graffiti in the 70s, as a kid, we were there for like the birth of graffiti. So even though we were a lot younger, we were doing what we were doing in trains and poles and blah, blah, blah. And that got me to the black and the urban areas and the Puerto Rican areas. And that's when I really was lit up musically. I was like, shit, like I'm at a party with all black guys and I'm like the only white guy. And I'm listening to these DJs playing shit I've never heard before. Then I go to like a Puerto Rican roller rink called Park Circle. And these fucking Puerto Ricans are just doing magic on the dance floor with skates. Crazy shit. I would just sit back in shock. And all of this music was just coming to me. Now I get it, and I present it to my people and my gigs, whether it's mobile or club, and I love that. And it was opening. It was just everything to me was a door to the next thing. I never had, I'm prejudiced against I hate everybody equally. I love everybody equally. So I don't have like, I hate this group of people. Like that would be the most moronic thing in the world because you get so much from everybody. There were so many things and so many people and situations that you need to be in. And, I was lucky enough to know in the moment a lot of the time, because a lot of times you don't know it when you're in the moment of how great something is. But almost every one of those times where I was uncomfortable at first, I'm like, I'm going to get fucking killed over here. When I got past that part, I'm like, this is incredible. This is a culture. This is something I would have never known if I didn't write graffiti. If I didn't hang out with this guy right here, he never would have turned me on to this guy who now has me in this place in Red Hook. So I was very thankful for the opportunity. You know what? I'm going to say one thing. Opportunity is everything. The more I think about it, I wrote 2 books. I'm in the process of writing a couple other ones, but I got to say, opportunity is everything, and it is so hard.
You got that book in front of you? Put it up.
I'm going to show a couple. Well, yeah, listen, people, you go to Amazon. We got Journey into Music, Coloring, Other Situations. Phenomenal book, all about a lot of my record collection, picture disc, colored vinyl. The 7-inch market's hot. You got to get this, which is from I left my heart in San Francisco to I lost my wallet in El Segundo. Crazy 7-inch rarities that you're never going to see. Both of them available on Amazon.com. Lenny Fontana, I think, is going to buy the first 50 people who they threw something in the comments. Lenny Fontana is buying them both for Christmas. First 50 people I heard.
Everybody gets a book free today. It's like, wait, hold on, everybody, look under your chair.
Yes, exactly. You have number 5 on your chair. You get the books. So, but I do believe opportunity is everything, and you have to take advantage of the opportunity. And it's hard. It's hard to get the opportunity. I can segue into my jobs if you want me to go into that situation.
Well, I want to know the transition. Okay, I know you played Pallets. I know you played some of the Queens clubs. I know you were around. Give us those times, because I know you're breaking into the business like we all were. We were all breaking our asses to get in here. So come on.
So a very, very key person in my life to this day, love him to death, my man Juan Cato. And I was in RPBC, Eddie Rivera's record pool. Oh, nice. That was quick there. And Juan and I were in RPBC, and one day I was up there. I was up there a couple of months before he started, and he comes up one day, and I introduced myself. He goes, "Yeah, I'm Juan. I spin at Lemoore East in Queens." And we had one of those relationships. We just instantly hit it off. And Juan's been like my brother since that day. And I went to his clubs and I got to know him, and I saw what he was doing. What he was doing at the freestyle era was unheard of. Nobody did what he did. Latin Rascals, TK, India on the stage. He was behind some iconic stuff. And I see all these people doing freestyle things and the freestyle resurgence. Juan is a guy that was so key. The bookings and the setting and making sure the accommodations were done. And then he introduced me to people, and I would go with him. And Juan was a guy that was wired. So we'd go to Mickey Garcia and Mick Mac. He'd take me to the labels with him. And he really liked the way I spun. And he felt that when he saw me playing everything, he was like, you know what? I want to take the back seat. I want you to be the DJ. We're going to do the promotion. So he and this guy, Vinny Grillo, got me on stage in Staten Island and Pals in Queens and other clubs, Bora Bora on Steinway Street. And we had a bunch of places. And to this day, Juan helped me with these both books. He's co-writer and co-producer of the whole thing. And he still makes records. He's relaunching Digital Dungeon. And he, one of, I think my favorite things about Juan is, he never tells me no. I have a million ideas and I kind of talk myself out of them. If I was like, yo, Juan, we have to go build a fucking 24-story building. He's like, all right, let's go. Never tells me no. And I love that about him. And he knows a lot, man. And he's an educated guy and musically knows his stuff, artistic, just all around, and he's did a lot for me. And he was very, very influential with me in that mid to late, latter 80s. And then, through him, I met Chris Barbosa. Chris Barbosa became a very dear friend of mine, and Chris got tight. And George Lamond in 1990, they had signed him, George Garcia, but became George Lamond. And he had this record release party for the Band of the Heart remix. And while I was there, I saw Todd. And Todd was always the guy to introduce everybody to everybody. And I was there, and he had just put out the Fingertrips record. And it was a record by this guy, Kenny Gonzalez. I'm like, yo, what's that chrome? My record's hot. I says, who's that guy, Kenny? So he pointed. He goes, yo, he's right there. So I walk over to him. I had no idea who he was. I said, yo, I'm Johnny D. I'm Kenny Dope, blah, blah, blah. And we became like brothers. It was kind of an instant thing. He was working at the record store on 50th Avenue in Brooklyn. I was in court stenography school, and he was just about to start doing records with Louie. at that point. That was like 1990. And then he and I just grew to friendship and stuff. And watching him make records and stuff, in 1993, he said, listen, you got to start making records. And he taught us things. And, he was just, a fucking absolute genius and unbelievable guy to learn under, because he was just, another guy, talent wise, when you work in the studio with certain people and you watch how they operate, it's, you don't get the impression that they even know how good they are. And I would watch Kenny do things that, were just, and this is pre all the bullshit, pretty SSL board, like, the most ghetto shit. And he was doing stuff that was just iconic. And he taught me and Nikki how to do things. And then we started making our records. And then in 94, I guess we'll go back and forth, but I figured while we're on this, I'll keep moving. In 94, Tommy Mustang and I had gotten very close for the previous couple of years. And we went to see Louie one night, Sound Factory Bar, during a snowstorm, because Wednesday night, rain or snow, you were at Sound Factory Bar. No, I was Louie was the church. I was where everybody was on a Wednesday. And Tommy and I went for dinner. We went there at 3 o'clock in the morning. We left, and the whole night I was like, yo, I feel these house labels are hitting the wall. And he's like, well, why don't you start your label yourself? So he goes, listen, I'll do your distribution. You sign everything. And shook on it. We shook hands. And that was the birth of Henry Street. And I went to Kenny, who was like my boy at that time. And we were very close. And he gave me my first record. And he was like, yo, and he, instantly got, visibility worldwide. And then from there, and I just, I had a lot of connections I was making at that time. And things just started to flow. And, then obviously I had big success down the road. But it was, very organic. And I didn't set out, I'm going to make money, I'm going to be rich. It was really all, I think I could do things better than what's out there. I think I know this. Now, I was working at SIN in 1992, which was Street Information Network, which is a promotion company. And as I'm working as a promotion person, I'm promoting incredible records, and I'm promoting incredibly garbage records. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, this, I guess, was feeding me as far as a guy who's about to make records with my equipment and a guy who wants to, when I start my label, I'm like, wow, there's so many mistakes people are making and they're just wasting time. And I was very focused on how I wanted the label to have a certain sound. And my philosophy with Henry Street, I remember I was getting a lot of these house records with these guys playing keyboards. And it was like, they play keyboards on top of like a salsa record. And I'm like, how are you going to, draw a mustache on the Picasso? Like, how are you going to Vince Montana loop and you're putting some bullshit keyboard sound on top of it? I was like, I just didn't even stand that. So I was like, if I take a disco record from 20 years ago and I make it sound hot today, I'll get 20 more years out of it. That was it. That was the flaw. It was nothing to do with I want to rob people. If anything, I was paying homage to these people and these producers and everything. There was no disrespect meant whatsoever. And then a lot of people started doing the disco thing. I mean, I think Nikki and I, our production is we're kind of in a class of our own as far as the way we make the records. We also hear them a different way. I think when Kenny, gave me The Bomb, which is, a tremendous record for the label and everything, I would have never heard Street Player that way. So Kenny doing that was exactly what I said before. I would have never done that. So that was what the beauty, I mean, of course, it was a tremendous record, but the beauty of it as a person who was also making records, I'm like, I would have never touched that. And you did that. So he heard that way because he didn't necessarily know that record the way I did. So I think that's another thing where we were all into different types of music. I mean, Kenny was a big guy with breaks and beats and Latin stuff and house. And, he was very rich in other areas where I was the pop, disco, kind of R&B. So I think together, when I always said, if we combined our stuff together, that's a pretty impressive situation. Because we both together, I think we cover every note in the history of music.
Let's also talk about Street Information Network, Vince Pellegrino. I guess that's where you get your teeth into understanding how the behind the scenes works.
Well, yeah, I tell you, I think Tony Monte, the first day I'm working there, he sits me down and he says, listen, the first thing you got to know about the music business, it's got nothing to do with the music. And, very, very important thing to tell me, and really horrible thing to kind of go over in your head, because you realize that there are so many factors. People think, oh, I'm going to get this producer and I'm going to do it at this studio. We're going to use this microphone. We're going to get this fucking drummer and you put all this shit together. What does Outkast say? You could plan the best fucking picnic, but you can't predict the weather, whatever. It's like you could do all this shit, but if the man upstairs isn't going to give you the nod, it's not going to happen. So I think I learned working at Sin that you have to plant a lot of seeds. I've had records on Hemish that have sold 300 copies that are my favorite records that nobody gave a shit about. I've had records on Atlantic that were my favorite fucking records I did. I A&R'd hundreds of records there that sold 3 copies. I didn't get caught up in, this was a success, so it's my favorite. Obviously, when you have the success, it's great. But what does the success do? It gives you the opportunity to do more shit. When I was at Atlantic Record, well, I'll go back to Sin, but I'll get to Atlantic. When I was at Sin, I had a lot of friends at different labels. So I was doing promotion, but I was also helping people with A&R because I was very wired to people in the studio. I was with Kenny almost. I mean, we were in the studio all week. There was always something going on. And between Kenny and Louie from 91, I mean, those guys were literally, 7 days a week. They were always working on something. And then Tommy Musto as well, because I started Northcott in 94. So everybody around me had some kind of a situation going on that I was always there. And while I was at Street Information Network, Rich Christina, who's a good friend of mine, was doing promotion at Atlantic, and he was given everything but the girl. And they said I had to do mixes. So he sent it to me. I knew the record, and I knew of the group. I knew they were a folk group and stuff like that. And I went to Todd. I was very close with Todd at the time. And Todd didn't want to do it. The budget was horrible. And Todd just did. I says, listen, Todd, this record, it's like, it's great. The thing about the remix that's so important that people don't realize, it's not what he did, but it's what he didn't do. Because it's one of the most minimal mixes he's ever done. He did correct the piece that nobody ever discusses. There was a part that was fucked up in the album version that it's always kind of funny to me. Nobody realizes it, but he corrected. Well, that was Bill Clack, the engineer, but there was a part that was corrected. But his minimal take on this mix, whether it was because he really didn't want to do it or in his head he was getting paid so little money. But I knew the record was important. And when I got to Atlantic after that, I wound up servicing it 5 times, and it wound up being a #2 pop record. And it was Tracy Thorn speaks about the involvement and everything else in the book. But that record put Todd through the fucking stratosphere. At that point, he was, so he didn't get a lot of money for it. But what it did for him everywhere else was just it was the biggest thing. I mean, Todd was on fire for years after that. And then obviously we discussed the Bucketheads, which Bucketheads was the 5th release on my label. And how that came about, which was kind of a funny story, is I had Armand's release coming out on the Old School Junkies. It was the next release on Henry Street. And I was in the car. Tommy Musto, myself, and Kenny were in the car going over the Brooklyn Bridge. And I said, yo, Ken, you got to hear this new Armand record. And it really, it's like one of my favorite on the label to this day. Like, yo, you got to hear this shit, man. And we put the cassette in. And, Kenny's listening to it. And, like, he's not feeling it. He's not only is he not feeling it, but I think he's kind of pissed that I'm sweating Armand. I think there was almost that, you're my boy. Like why are you sweating Armand? Like, what the fuck? Like, you're my boy. Like, what the fuck? It was that kind of. It's like, you're my boy. Why the fuck are you? I'm like, yo, this shit. And Armand, he had that power where he gets me with records. That motherfucker. Another guy in the studio that's just quick, gets it, crazy. Has a crazy way of working, and we connect. Anyway, I played a record. And Kenny's just sitting there like, totally not feeling the fucking thing. And the next day he calls me up. He goes, come downstairs. Pulls up in front of my house in his green BMW. puts the cassette in, and we're looking down my block, which is the water, which is right 2 blocks away from me is the water, right by the fucking Trade Center. And I'm looking ahead, and I'm hearing a 5-minute intro. It's like, so the first minute goes by too, by the 4, I have no idea what the fuck. It's almost like, is he like punking me? Like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on at this point. But I mean, it's hard. It's his drums, and finally, and it kicks in, and he's not looking at me. He's looking straight ahead for 15 fucking minutes, 14 minutes and 53 seconds, whatever the thing is. So it goes to the end. I see, that shit's incredible. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck is gonna understand it, but it's fucking incredible. So he goes, yo, you gotta put that shit out. And he gave me the B-side, and we put the record out. I wound up doing the edit, which was a big thing, the 3-minute edit, which was hard to do. And we put it out, and it really just, I had put other records out before. I had 4 records before that, and they all were doing things. But this one was just, I remember Louie calling me from Italy. He's like, yo, nobody has your record here. Every time Louie would travel a different part of the world, yo, they don't have the record here. Everybody's selling out. And then the Canadians, Quality, came to me. I licensed it to them. And the Italians came. And the Italians, it's rough because I'm Italian. I love Italy, but you got to do, you're going to get fucked with the Italians. So you say to yourself, who's going to fuck me the least, And so I wound up giving it to Media, I believe. And, I don't think I ever saw a fucking penny. And then Positiva came. Nick Hawks came. Great guy, Nick. And kind of jumped the gun where we didn't have the sample cleared. And we wound up paying probably the biggest sample clearance fee in the history of samples. I mean, Puffy wasn't even in the vicinity of what the fuck we paid for that sample. And it was a lot of heartache.
But did Chicago give you guys a hard time at first with it?
Well, what happened was there was a lawyer that represented them, and she just really, she's responsible for a lot of my hair loss. Chicago, the group didn't give a fuck because I think Hawk Walensky and Danny Serafine, I don't even know if they were still part of it at that point. They wrote the record. So because they wrote the record, they had the publishing interest, the master, Chicago owned. They were no longer through Sony. And ironically, they wound up getting through fucking Rhino, which that would have been nice if it would have happened earlier because I was part of the company. But listen, it all worked out. And I mean, I share the history books with Chicago. So you go back to the first question you asked me, how do you find music? My sister, which turned me on to Chicago. Blows my mind that I have something in the history books with that. And listen, it was still a very credible record, which I love the fact that people care 25 years fucking later. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Did you write the figure in your story of how much you paid for the clearance?
That clearance was $30,000. Puffy at his peak was paying $5,000.
The reason why?
Well, what happened is, well, listen to me. Sampling, that I could do a 3-hour show on sampling. Sampling problem is the reason why people don't want to clear samples is when you're doing a dance track, let's just say right now, you and I say, you know what, we have this idea. Let's do a Johnny D. Lenny Fontana thing. We're going to take I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross. Wow, that's a great fucking idea. You and I go there, we get it, we flip the fucking thing around. We go to Universal to clear that. Then we got to get the clearance through Nile Rodgers, the whole Chic thing with the publishing. They're going to treat us like this is going to sell 5 million albums. If Puffy goes to them, they're going to treat him like it's going to sell 5 million. Now, we might only sell 300 pieces of vinyl. They're not going to make the accommodation for us, and that's the issue. So that's why people say, you're raw, whatever. I think more people would want to do things legitimately, but how do you tell people, well, house music isn't as important, or house music isn't like real? Because that's in essence what you're saying. You're saying that Biggie is going to sell 5 million albums, and you're going to sell 15,000 pieces of vinyl. So how are we going to work that out? And I just, so because Chicago and kind of Positiva jumped the gun, that's why they were able to go for our throat, because the record was out already. It's not like today, it's up digitally, take it down. 2 seconds it's down, nobody even has a memory, it's gone, see ya. Just as, Positiva, would they ship 200,000 first fucking week? It was an issue. So We got hit over the head, paid a fortune of money. But you know what? The record's still a hit. And how
as we all say, a hit is a hit is a hit is a hit. No matter what you say.
And I gotta say, I think it's the most successful disco sample hit in house history. I mean, I don't know of another that's next to it. I think it's the biggest one. It's still credible. And then you get like a situation with Pitbull. So now you say, okay, so Pitbull, which in my heart, I think Pitbull would have come to us, but those Italian 117, whatever the fuck those guys who did the other thing where they ripped off the bam, 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 the 4 notes.
That was Nicola Fasano.
Yeah, okay. So that guy, and so instead of them coming to us, Patrick Moxey supposedly went directly to Chicago. They fucked Kenny and I out of that, which was wrong because that wasn't Street Player. That was the bomb. Those 4 notes of the bomb. Kenny turned that into a different copyright. So it's one of those weird.
So does that fall under the category of an interpolation because he rephrased it differently?
Well, listen, I'll put it to you this way. I had this argument years ago. You know, Puffy would find a sample, right? And then Irv Gotti would come out and sample Puffy. To me, it almost shouldn't be allowed. So it's like those guys in Italy basically sampled the bomb. And let's just say they had a better deal with Chicago than dealing with us. They were able to, like, that's bullshit. Those 4 notes are the bomb. That's not Street Player. That's a new fucking song. When the RZA took the Charmels with Cream, ding 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 ding, and he looped that became Wu-Tang Clan Cream. Okay? If you now sample the Cream instrumental, that's a RZA thing. That shouldn't go back to fucking the Charmels. In other words, the Charmels are going to get their taste because the RZA cleared it, which gives Isaac Hayes and that whole situation their money. But that should say so-and-so sampled Wu-Tang Cream from RZA, Isaac Hayes, and boom. Pitbull should say sample from boom, the bomb, Kay Gonzalez, Denny Seraphine, Hawk Walensky. That's how that should be. And we got shafted out of that, which was a fucking, that's bullshit. Quite honestly, that's bullshit.
So I see. So you're saying they should pay tribute where tribute needs to be paid.
But say, listen, it's just what it is. Listen, in the court of law, they're going to say, this is a Chicago master. I get that. But give me 20 jurors and say, listen, I'm going to play 4 notes for you. What do you hear? Bam, 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 bam. Do you hear Street Player or do you hear the bomb? The bomb made those 4 fucking notes.
Can I tell you the truth?
Not if you're going against me.
No. I'm going to tell the truth. When I heard it, first I heard the Pitbull record, I says, that's Kenny's record.
That's what I said. I mean,
Hold on. But I do know where the history of the record comes from because we knew it was Chicago Street Player.
Yes.
And that one, okay. But it's so iconic because we remember hearing, in fact, that horn part is more popular from the Bucketheads.
Of course it is.
Than it was from the Phil Ramone production.
You have to understand.
Am I correct? Phil Ramone produced the original production, correct?
Yes, but look at it this way. Street Player, in the history of Chicago, was probably one of their only stiffs. Chicago 13, worst selling album they've ever had. This record made that one stiff a hit. Literally, in the history of Chicago, their least selling record ever, Chicago 13.
I know. This is right in between them doing the power ballads and ending their 70s sound.
That was the whole thing, yes.
That was that one album where they went, where actually they got dropped because of that last album. Yeah. That was the one that went, see ya.
Yes. So, but listen, of course, but listen, the sampling thing, that's something that over the years, I don't know where that goes. That's the court, a different judge, what people hear. I had a Tori Amos record, which went to #1. Arista does Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which they put People Hold On top of it. And I'm like, that's the fucking Armand track. And like nobody wanted to like go sue Arista. I'm like, what are you kidding me? And they wound up sampling.
Well, your argument's correct, because what happens is, as the generations change, to the generation that was coming up at that time would have been in their 19 to 25 age group, okay, which would have been that pop record of Kenny Dope would have been a popular record. They would have known it as the Bucketheads, not ever knowing about a Chicago record. Okay?
But if you go a step further than that, the truth of the matter is, Street Player wasn't that big of a record that even people our age would know it. I mean, listen, you're a club guy. I'm a club guy. This is what we do. It's
That's a club record. That was a club record all the way.
But like your wife might not know that. Your wife might not. My sister didn't know Street Player, and she turned me on to Chicago in the first place.
I had to tell my neighbor, because they know those records, 24 to 1 and all the big records.
Yes.
Saturday in the Park. That's Chicago. When you talk about Chicago, you say Saturday in the Park.
Color My World, Beginnings.
The Beginnings. Now,
all that, yes.
And I love them. And in fact, it's funny, I went to see them in Coney Island, Chicago, and they actually performed the record.
They do the fucking bomb.
They do the Street Player record. I'm shocked.
They actually do the fucking bomb.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying is they actually perform. They actually do the whole rendition.
They do a part where they do bam, bam.
Yeah.
And the crazy part was, I renamed it wrong. It says Street Sound Swirling Through My Mind. I said that's not gonna flow right. These sounds wrong. I wrote that. That's what I said. It said. Meanwhile,
Who'd you say that to? Wait. Who'd you say that to?
I wrote it on the fucking record. When Kenny gave it to me, there was no name.
Did you call Kenny? Did you tell Kenny this is what we're calling you?
No, what happened was he called it the bomb. So I called the bomb, parentheses, these sounds fall into my mind. But it's saying street sounds swirling through my mind. I didn't like the whole swirl. I thought people were going to have a hard time with that. I thought these sounds falling through my mind sounded easier. And that's what I went with. They performed at a gig saying these sounds fall.
And I heard
I heard it. I was bugging.
You remember I called you? I said I went to Coney Island. I actually filmed it. I put it up. You said, I don't believe this. I said, look, crazy. They're performing Chicago in their
show. Fucking words.
They changed the words too. I know.
Unbelievable.
So here's something now, because I want you to talk about the Atlantic story. But here, before we even go to the Atlantic story, the case of Pharrell and Marvin Gaye.
I don't believe that whatsoever.
I want to know your take on that.
I thought that was total bullshit. I thought that almost came through as some racist shit. I don't even know what you call it, but Pharrell's half black, so I don't really understand that. I know Pharrell. I met him. I knew him before he blew up, and Rich Christina was tight with him, and we spent a lot of time. I don't. First of all, I was always told you can't sue for drums. I was always told that because the Bucketheads drums have been lifted by a million motherfuckers, and I was told you can't go after that. That thing, it's not even a sample. I cannot believe that. I think that was a raw.
Well, how does it categorize then? Is it a replay? Because when you listen to the one-to-one, when you listen to the one-to-ones, it's very close. So
it's close, but like I said, you know how many drums have been lifted by? There are so many real drum loops that have been robbed. I didn't hear that. I didn't even hear it. Like when I heard the thing. I mean, personally, I can't stand "Got to Give It Up" to begin with, but I cannot believe that they had to give up money. I think honestly, there was a backlash from Robin Thicke. Robin Thicke is not liked. Robin Thicke got on the side. Robin Thicke pissed somebody off. Honestly, I'm going to tell you the truth. He was with that chick. He cheated on her. Something with Robin Thicke. And I honestly feel that's why they went after him. I really do. In my heart, that's where that was.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, that's a good thing. You know what? I always say.
Listen, you're telling me when Mark Ronson does Uptown Funk, okay? So now you're going to tell me he does Uptown Funk with Bruno Mars. You do Uptown Funk you up. So now you do that, right? So you bring that to your A&R guy. Most of these A&R guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So now you put it out. Everything's all good. Then somebody says, hey, wait a second. Oops, upside your head. Say, oops, upside. All of a sudden, oh, wow. The Gap Band. That's a fucking different story.
That was the first thing I said when I heard it. I said, that's Gap Band line. With the rhythm and all. Just change the words.
You have a lot of people that go for it. And listen, some people get lucky. I just told you, the Tori Amos, which we'll get to, they fucking robbed my whole shit. We didn't even go after them, which I even got Armand Van Helden about. I was so pissed. I was like, how can we not go after them? So there he is. #1 music guy in the world, and Armand Van Helden. Nice little joke that right there.
Okay, so all right. All right, so you're doing Street Information Network. Eventually, that ends. You start Henry Street with Tommy's North.
I start Henry
and
Street.
Silvio Tancredi. Silvio,
rest in peace. Great guy. Phenomenal times there, and we did a lot of great things and a lot of great memories. And I get Craig Coleman calls me to come to work at Atlantic, and it was a hard move because I was very tight with Vince at the time, and I left and. I got there and I loved it because I was gonna be able to work with artists, and now I was able to say, okay, let me use my area of expertise, what I think. So even though I was doing promotion, because I had put the missing together, I'm coming in with the Bucketheads, whatever. So now I'm the guy. I'm not just doing promotion. I'm doing A&R, and a guy like E-Smoove, that is God to me. I get to work with him, MK, that at that point was kind of just slowing down. I was like this MK nut. And obviously Kenny, Louie, and Tommy, and just putting on everybody. I thought, whatever, it was a phenomenal opportunity, as I said before. And I did a bunch of records.
But when they hired you, what was your job title officially?
It was supposed to be just Crossover Promotion, and then I had switched it to Crossover Music because I encompassed A&R. So I was A&Ring and doing promotion at the same time. But I was involved with every end, from the marketing, whatever. I would sit down and do the labels. I redid the labels. That jacket with all the records, that was my design. I did the same one for him. Those were Nicky's records because I didn't want anybody to touch my records. So Nicky let me use his records. We photocopied them in Atlantic. And that jacket. I mean, I brought back the old A and shit, and it was great. Listen, my Atlantic years were unbelievable, and I had a phenomenal time. I had a great run, and I did some heavy damage there. And one of the people that gave me the biggest opportunities was Vicky Germain, who was the head of marketing. She made sure whatever came through that door, they met with me. Whereas A&R stuff and promotion stuff, they kind of like, yeah, here and there, but Vicky makes sure, Pet Shop Boys, got to meet with Johnny D. Oh, boom. And then what did she do one day? She said, hey, John, we have this girl, Tori Amos, that we're going to, I want you to meet her. And we should do some stuff together. So there was a place called the Dish of Salt, Chinese place, incredible, right by Times Square, by the Theater District. And myself, Vicky Germain, Tori Amos, and John Witherspoon, who's now Tori Amos's manager, used to be her road manager. And we go, and I have no idea who Tori is. And I'm starving. I didn't eat all day. I was in meetings all fucking day. And I'm just like, yeah, could you pass the fried rice or whatever? She's looking at me. And we're sitting there eating, drinking. And we're really, really cool. We're getting along. I think she loved the fact that I had no idea who she was because everybody was up her ass. So I said, listen to me, Tori, worst case scenario, I'll do mixes. 3,000 DJs who never heard of you will hear you. Best case scenario, we'll have a hit. So she's like, all right, whatever. Everything's all good. I get to work the next morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. I put on my computer. My computer is flooded with internal emails. Oh, my God. Were you with Tori? Did you keep a fork? Did you keep the spoon? Did you have a napkin? I'm like, these people fucking nuts. Then I looked into how big her reach was. And I was like, holy shit. Like, she's, really fucking, she's big. So I said, listen, I have this idea. Let me get 10 cassettes, and I'm going to send them out to 10 people. I think I did Junior Vasquez and MK and Tenegli, all different. I said, do me a favor, let me know what song you think on this album, the Boys for Pele album, you would want to do. So people got back to me with different things, and there was a record called Horses and different things. And I really wanted to use MK because before, when I was at Sin, I was promoting MK. I was basically MK's manager without getting paid. I was MK. Eddie Medora, that was in the room with me, wanted to jump out the fucking window. I was playing MK all day. He's like, you gotta stop. And it was just MK, every fucking dub. I couldn't get enough MK. I would take a break for Dr. Dre G thing.
Nightcrawlers all the way.
But it was this. I was just
crazy.
I was so. Yeah, and I promoted Nightcrawlers, by the way. But this is pre even the early shit. So anyway, MK, Mark and I got very close. I'm very close to his brother. Mark knew I was doing. Marcy Weber, who was his manager, knew, like, listen, this fucking guy, Johnny D, like, he's promoting you for free. Like, Vince wanted to kill me. I'm like, Vince, this guy's like the hottest thing. Anyway, I want to, so what do? I got this Tori Amos project. So I go to Armand. Armand says, I'll kill whatever you give me. So that took Armand out of the picture, meaning, great, whatever I get from somebody, Armand will do the other side, whatever it's going to be. So MK says, I like this Professional Widow record. So let's go on record and give MK credit. If it wasn't for MK, the Armand stardom might not have happened. Because, well, let's say superstardom, because Armand was, Armand's Armand. I mean, you can't take shit away from him, but this record put him through the fucking stratosphere. And it was MK who said, I want to do Professional Widow. So he gives me Professional Widow. I give him the parts. So I give them to Armand. This is a true story. So MK's doing it. And MK puts together a great remix. But he keeps the vocals in, which say, star fucker, just like my daddy. Explicit, whatever. But it's a little bit. But, MK did his dub, loved the whole thing. I give it to Armand. He said, listen, having a hard time with the vocal. I can't get it, in time. So I said, do a drop. And just put as much in it. Because at this point, I have no idea. Is she going to be offended? Is she going to be into it? Is she hip? Is she approved? Who the fuck knows? I don't know what she was going to be into. So I wanted to get approval. So I said, listen, do a drop and then build it back up. And for the DJs that are fucking whack, we'll do a thing, just a dub where there's no drop, which is exactly what he did, which turned into the formula. Then it was the Spin Spin Sugar, the fucking Sneaker Pimps, and the fucking New Eureka Runaway, the Faithless. Then that became his fucking sound. But that was my fucking idea. Anyway, comes to the office with the dad. The MK mix I had, I liked it. It was cool. But, I was like, it was a great house mix. I put the Armand mix in. Now, my office at the time was literally the size of a shoebox. And I'm sandwiched between the heavy metal guy and, like, the light FM chick, okay? I got these crazy JBL speakers and thing. And I put on this fucking thing. I look up at I got 9 people in my office. They're like, what the fuck is this? They're like, bring it close. Now he's saying, bring it close to my lips. It's got to be big. She was raped before. So I'm like, oh my God, like, he's got no fucking idea. Is she going to now get flashbacks to the rape? All this crazy shit's going through my, but the track is fucking undeniable, right? So I'm on set. I'm like, yo, you fucking destroyed this thing. It's incredible, blah, blah, blah. I make a cassette. I send Tori the thing, the MK mix, the Armand mix, whatever. Month goes by, don't hear shit. I hit Vicky Gervais. I said, Vic, have you heard from Tori? No, I haven't heard nothing. Month later, Tori calls. She says, Johnny, I'm in Germany. My tour bus broke down. I put the cassette in. Everybody went fucking crazy. You got to put this out. Wow. Opportunity, right? I finally got the opportunity to do it. I put the fucking record out. In the history of the music business, I don't think there's been a P&L like that. Armand always did. We were very close at that time. Did me a great favor. Didn't charge me a lot. MK didn't charge me a lot. The only person who worked the record was me and this girl in the UK who was my girl. That was it. Nobody spent a fucking dime. So millions of copies. One of the biggest successes for fuck Atlantic in music. Because it was just me. I didn't hire any.
So what does it cost? What does it cost for Atlantic to put this record out in the end? What do you think was the actual total inside?
At that time, I gave, which is funny, Todd had gotten 8,000 for Missing when he was getting 20 and change, okay? But see, I wasn't trying to lowball guys for me. I was trying to stay in the game. I didn't have the luxury of a Frank Serralo or a Hosh Garelli where to have a $30,000, $40,000 budgets. I was getting these bullshit budgets. And I was like, guys, I wanna get DJ Sneak to do tour. Like I want to bring the underground to the fucking pop world. That was my goal. I wanted to, mesh worlds. I wasn't, okay, this guy's big right now. I wanted to create the next motherfucker. That was my goal. So I had to beg for money. Armand got 10. He was turning down 80s, literally 80 grand turned down. He got it for 10. MK 8. Okay, what did it do? I mean, MK is having an incredible resurgence right now. What did the Tori Amos record do for Armand? How many records did he do for 80 grand that nobody gave a fuck about? This record put him through fucking space. Now, he's an incredible talent, and I'm not going to sit here and claim Armand's talent. I fucking discovered him. But, you know, that's a big fucking record. That's Funk Phenomena, big record. So I'm tied to a lot of these records. So whether somebody wants to sit back and be like, yeah, Johnny D talks a lot of shit, well, you could say that, but it's all kind of fact, and it's all, I'm not saying anything kind of out of line. I mean, when you look at these things, I mean, I look at it this way. If I'm Armand, and you say Johnny D, if I don't instantly think of You Don't Know Me, Tori Amos, and Funk Phenomena, which are the 3 highlights of his fucking career, I mean, I don't know. Am I crazy? I mean, I don't really understand that. So
I understand it.
I've had different people, you know, just I call it house music.
Let me play devil's advocate. Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
Lenny, you know, I know you're friends with Johnny, but you know, Johnny's always got to say me. Why? You understand that, Johnny? They're all saying to me, why do you say I did this?
I'll tell you why.
And you explain it in your words.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because for whatever reason, there's the Rodney Dangerfield no respect factor. I don't know if it's a white thing. I honestly, I don't know what it is, but I mean, history. If you want to sit back and say you did all these fucking things, I mean, it's in the books. I mean, if I wasn't here to tell this story, anybody doing a fraction of research is going to tell you my involvement. Or you can look at the fucking records and look at the credits. I mean, it's not rocket science. These are things that happen. That right there, Everybody Dance. I pulled those multis back in '96. To this day, there are people ripping off those multis, doing mixes. Everybody and their mother became a multi-track remixer. How many guys did I give it to, and how many people have it? How many guys took them from me? How many guys traded it? How many guys sold those multi-tracks? Sold them. That's another story. How many guys? But look at that playlist. Masters at Work, Todd, Musto, Morales, Jason, Arif Mardin, Black Science Orchestra, John Nick. I don't know who those guys are. Paul Simpson, Jazzy Jeff. Look at that fucking lineup. Has that ever been done? I mean, that didn't sell tremendously, but that's pretty fucking impressive.
It's pretty awesome to be able to pull off an album that level.
Pretty impressive. On top of the fact that you're doing this at a company that Rhino didn't understand me whatsoever. I did the Larry Levan comp and the Ashford and Simpson and Old Dirty Bastard and Brandy, and they looked at me like I had 4 fucking heads. They don't understand any of it. I had hundreds of projects on hold before I was let go, and they don't really understand black music. They don't really care. You know, their philosophy is we have Madonna, we have Metallica, we have the Eagles, we have Genesis. They're going to pay our bills for the next 20 years, so who cares about 10 City? Oh, by the way, congratulations on the Grammy nomination, 10 City, Byron and crew. Just found out about. Did you hear about that? Nice.
And Maurice Joshua, they're all in it.
Maurice is in there too?
Yeah, he's part of the Grammy. Yeah, I saw it. I congratulated him too. He's part of the album.
God bless. God bless. That's nice.
But let me understand the political corporate level of corporate music industry. You know, you worked at Rhino Atlantic, you're doing the back catalog, you're working Crossover Promotion, you're doing A&R, and such. And you have this idea that you want to put this remix album together. What's the pecking order to get that off the ground? Like,
it's very hard because you know, this kind of music, you know, rhythmic music is, you know, by nature, it just doesn't sell the numbers that are going to excite a major label. So you have to have other things in the marketplace to point to. You can't say, listen, I'm Johnny D. I'm the fucking man. I got reach to everybody. I'll get all these guys to do stuff for me with an incredible discounted rate or whatever. They're going to look at it and say, show us something in the marketplace that did what you're saying it's going to do. And they don't even mind if you lie, but I don't like to lie and I don't want to embellish. So I want to be like, listen, I'm doing something that this is uncharted waters. They don't like that. They'd rather me say, this thing came out on MCA and it sold 1,500 copies. That's what I want to do. They'll give me the green light then. But I couldn't find something comparable because everything I wanted to do was always different. So that became um, a hard part of my job. Ashford and Simpson, I had to go to the CEO of the Warner Music Group. Basically, I had to fake out Rhino saying, listen, Edgar Bronfman wants this to come out. I threw Edgar Bronfman, the fucking head of the company, I threw his name out to get Ashford and Simpson done. Could you imagine that? Ashford and Simpson, two of the biggest icons in the world, they weren't going to let me do it.
And what was the reason why they wouldn't let you do it? What did they say?
Because they have a philosophy of the people that are going to make a difference. They'd rather put out the T-Rex catalog with bonus material. And like I said, the Metallica, the Genesis, they had just purchased the Bee Gees catalog for a 10-year, $30 million deal. So they were reissuing all the Bee Gees shit and all the stuff Barry Gibb had done. You have different people in place, and everybody wants to prioritize what they want to do. Me being the guy in the East Coast for a West Coast company, I thought that was the best thing in the world. I'm like, wow, I'll be the New York guy. And to me, it worked the opposite way. They looked at it like, oh, this guy's not here. We got to chop 5 heads. Boom, first guy gone. So I lost my job at Rhino for pure geographical reasons. It wasn't performance-based at all. I had stuff on board with Cold Chillin', I had Tommy Boy stuff. I had so many things I was about to do. Never had the opportunity. There's that word again. Opportunity. Need the opportunity. It's all about that.
And then from there, that, it's like they always say, the train stops right there. What happens right from that moment? What gears do you change, or what's the next step? Where do you see life going now? Because things are changing now.
Well, what happened was it's very, very, listen, I honestly could not get back into the business. I sat with people at Sony Legacy. I sat with people at Sirius and Music Choice and all these places. And not to sound like an asshole, but I'm overqualified for almost all these positions that were there. So if I would sit down with somebody and say, listen, I'm willing to start at the fucking bottom, they'll look at me like I'm crazy. Or with today's world, they could just Google me and they're going to see all this shit. They're going to say, how is this guy going to start at the bottom? Because my thing is, you give me the opportunity, I'll get to Ahmed Erdogan. I'll start in the fucking mailroom, but I'm going to be with Ahmed in 2 months. That's a fucking guarantee. That's me.
And that was the problem. That was the problem what they saw. Because you got their jobs on the line now.
But the thing is, I don't want their jobs. I want to go. I want you to give me the opportunity to do what I do. Like at Sirius XM. If I was programming that disco channel right now, that would be the most undeniable fucking thing you've ever heard in your life. I would do shit to that. Can't get up there. I can't get in. I have my Giant D experience. Favorite thing I've ever done in my life. It puts a smile on my face ear to ear all day long. If you listen to it, let's do it for an hour. If you don't feel what I'm doing, blast me. But seriously, go to Live 365, the Giant D experience. I promise you won't be disappointed. I want to do that somewhere. I would love to be on like the Sirius app and say, listen, give me 6 months on the app. Maybe we'll give the Bluegrass channel a fucking break. Let's see if I can bring some people that are alive into the thing. And whatever. We'll just do 50-40. But I can't even get a meeting with these people. I can't get a meeting back at Rhino. The old douchebag that was the GM just came back there. These are guys that don't understand black music at all. Like, they don't care. You're sitting on, I said to them, guys, let me bring some money in. I don't want to change the quarter, but you know what? Let me turn dats that are on a shelf to some thousands here and there. Let me just start doing little things. And what would I do? I'd bring people in from our world to now sample or reintroduce, go deep into the catalog, make compilations that now movies and commercials could maybe sample and use and license. Let's get into this black music that we own the largest, richest black music catalog that we're doing absolutely nothing with. You could go to YouTube and there could be 5 trillion songs there without people like myself who is a tastemaker and people that are saying, hey, Lenny, listen to this. But without me doing that, what are you doing on YouTube? It just, it's great that YouTube is there, but we have to direct people where to go on YouTube. So yeah, the information's there, but there's stuff that people are never going to get to that has 3 views. So, I need a person with balls. That's what for the next part. Listen, I have my label. Things are great. I do what the fuck I do, and I'm hustling. I'm spitting here and there. I do whatever I got to do. But the truth of the matter is, to get a person that has balls and a little bit of juice, and say, you know what, this is a guy that with the books and all of this stuff, I'm not coming halfway. This is, and if it's somebody who's got a problem with me, whatever, they still can't debate my place in this game. So you can sit back and say, well, oh yeah, Johnny, meet me. Okay, great, meet me. But really, you're gonna do what am I saying that's not true? What am I saying? Who am I taking credit for that?
Well, let's be honest here. If you don't tell the story,
who's gonna tell?
No, but I always say this is why this show was created. I tell each of the guests, I say the same thing. No one's going to tell the story or paint the picture better than the person that was actually there.
Yes.
So,
I think that. Listen, I think that the downside a lot of the time is you do have people that have a bad recollection, or they have fucking amnesia, or there really is. Listen, I'm not doing this show for the ego side. Do I have an ego? Of course, I think we all do. Some people try to downplay whatever, but ego. I mean, how could you? When we do what we do, it's ego based. Lenny Fontana spinning here, name up in lights. That's fucking ego. That's what we do. You go to Miami. Oh, this guy, whatever. Like, that's what it is. You don't have to be the guy sitting there beating your chest, but you're on the beach in the Winter Music Conference and you see a helicopter go by. Tonight, a club, whatever, Lenny Fontana, but like, there's ego all over it. And that's what people are attracted to in our scene more than anything. Because if that wasn't the case, how can you justify spending $200 to go and see fucking Tiesto? I see my cousin. Well, one day she goes, oh yeah, I'm going to see Tiesto, and the tickets like, I don't know, $150. This was in Staten Island like 5 years ago. And I'm like, how do you know this guy? And she looked at me like with a fucking deer in headlights. I'm like, do you know any of the music he plays? And she just looked at me. She didn't know what the fuck he played. But they do such a good job of promoting the guy that
that's that Dutch machine. That's that Dutch machine. Yeah, that's a Dutch machine. That Dutch machine is powerful. Armand Van Buren, that kick, or Chris, all those people coming out. They have that machine well maintained and oiled. Yes, you don't even know what records these guys are doing, but they're out, and they got 150 city tour.
Well, listen. I remember I saw something from New Year's a couple of years ago. That guy Mark Knight basically played "Play the World," but he sped it up, and the place is like losing their minds. And it's like, I talked to Nikki like a day after, and it's like so fucked up that it's like we're not mentioned. It's our record. He probably heard it and decided he liked it and is going to redo whatever it is, or just put a drum under it. And when you're in that position, you could basically do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, how you gonna, what am I gonna start a post? Mark Knight ripped off my shit. It's like, you can't do that. So you basically sit back and you watch this guy just do whatever the fuck he wants to do. You try to acknowledge the fact that, wow, those 5,000-10,000 people are flipping out to your shit. But it's a mind fuck. There's a lot of that goes on. A lot of people rip people off, and it's very easy, especially today. You know, people, oh yeah, I'm doing a promo, and I'm like, promo? You can't do a promo. You do the record on Monday, put it out Tuesday, because you're gonna have a week of promo. In that 1 week, somebody's gonna take your shit and put it out themselves. It's like, it's that easy at this point. You know, you look at some of these places that are selling music. I mean, it's an absolute fucking free for all right now. People are just taking whatever they want to take.
Oh, I know.
You go on YouTube.
Well, let's start. Okay, so now the 3 main companies, Sony, Universal, and Warner, okay, have now pretty much went out and are going out and buying everyone's catalogs like crazy.
Yes.
So we're going to get to the point that the big three will own everything soon.
Yes.
But my issue is with the big three is if someone is sampling something or reworking, most of the people who are curating the back end don't even know what's in those catalogs.
Listen, this is the biggest. Listen, my job, I was middle management. So I was senior director of Crossover Music, okay? They basically, when they redid the model of the music business, they got rid of my entire group of people. What they said was, you know what? We're going to have the executives making a couple of million a year, and we're going to have some $20,000 a year interns. That's it. That's what we're filling the company with. So Lenny Fontana has an idea. Who do you call? Johnny D. Yo, listen, Johnny, I'm thinking I want to do an Aretha Franklin thing. She just passed away. Maybe we could do a thing. I have this artist that sounds like a. Wow, Lenny, that's a great fucking idea. I go to my boss. Listen, got this guy, big fan of Aretha. She just passed away. We could probably use that and we can move things, blah, blah, blah. Without me in there, without a Hosh in there, without a Frank Serrallo in there, who are you going to talk to? A 20-year-old who doesn't know who Aretha Franklin is? How are you going to sell that?
Well,
what are the chances of you getting to an executive?
What executive?
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not even going to happen. So people like myself, Hosh Garelli, Frank Serrallo, people that were in the, that was more important than almost anything else. The fact that, listen, I got to say, in all of my time doing records, of course, I love giving mixes to my boys and stuff. But to give Sneak a record, Robbie Tronco a major label record, give King Britt his first major label record. He did it. I Love You Always Forever, Donna Lewis. Harry Romero and fucking what's his name? Juan, the Aaliyah. Armand's first jungle remix, Aaliyah. I love that. Like I that makes me happier as an A&R person, as a record guy, than the hits. To say, I gave this guy an opportunity. I gave Spinner to Lee, to Mia. I think that was his first major label remix. There were all these guys that would never even be, even near the major label thing. And I was trying all my years to kind of, I'm in the underground. I'm in the major label thing. My day was split. I'd be in Atlantic all day, then go to Northcott, then go to my office in the Film Center building on 9th Avenue, or wherever I would go. So I was constantly trying to merge the two worlds. And I think that was, I think that was kind of like my calling. It's like for me to get the opportunity, that word I keep using, to be there and be in a meeting. And I could tell, the BB Wines is a perfect example. Craig Tallman called me up on a conference call one day and says, I was on my conference call. Tuesday night was the promotion conference call. So my assistant calls me and says, listen, Craig's on the phone. So I go pick up the phone, and Craig, classic Craig, because this is how he operates. Hey, Johnny, you're on with BB. That was it. That's my fucking, okay, here, get ready. Or your warm up, here you go. Now, BB Wines, I was like, I was having a heart attack. BB and CC, I was a tremendous fan, the whole fucking thing. So I get on the phone with BB. So Craig is selling BB Winans Johnny D. And he's basically saying, listen, this guy's going to fucking give you a record. And BB's being the biggest fucking asshole in the world. Now, I'm crushed because I'm like, first of all, I want to kill Craig because, like, no warning, could have fucking BlackBerry text, nothing. Boom, pick up. Hey, you're on with BB. And I'm like, and he probably didn't pay attention because Craig's had 7 different places at once. So BB's like, yeah, like being, what a fucking idiot. I couldn't believe. It's like, I wanted to meet Joe DiMaggio, and you finally meet him, and he's kind of a douche. You're like, oh, I wish I didn't meet the fucking guy. So I finally had to kind of check him. I said, BB, you know what? Listen, I got these guys I'm going to bring you with, and we'll go from there. Doesn't work, doesn't work. I had to be a dick, and that was it. Okay, fast forward. I don't know, a week later, I go, Kenny and Louie and BB, we have a fucking meeting, okay? BB falls in love with Kenny and Louie, okay? Falls in love with them. fucking thing. They not only are gonna remix a record, but they're gonna produce. So Thank You album version is produced by Masters at Work. Now, if I wasn't there, were Kenny and Louie gonna ever have an opportunity to work with BB Winans? I mean, maybe. Wasn't gonna happen then. I was the fucking guy that did that. And then what happened? We're doing the remix, the dance mix, and BB in the middle of recalling himself every 5 minutes because every take was one more brilliant than the next. And he kept, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this guy is. It was just every take was better. Goes on the phone, doesn't tell us what he's doing. He goes, we need backgrounds. And who walks in 25 minutes later? Luther Vandross and Fonzie Thornton. I almost fall off the fucking chair. Kenny and Louie are kind of bugging. They do their thing. So Luther is just fucking every bit of the legendary, incredible fucking guy you want him to be. I'm dying. I can't even because I was such a BB guy, and then after listening to him sing, I was converted. I was like, this guy's the best guy I ever heard in my life, And now Luther comes in, and Luther comes off almost like second place. The fucking BB Winans. It was like a mind fuck. All right, then what happens? Kenny and Louie wound up producing Luther. That all happened. So now, Johnny D, you got an ego. Oh, you got a big mouth. Me, me, me. I don't know if that's me, me, me. That's fact. That happened. Jody Watley, okay? One of my favorite people on the planet. Love her to death. She got signed to Atlantic. Everybody, don't mention Shalimar. She's having a hard time. There's a behind the music, True Hollywood, whatever the fuck story of Shalimar, and Howard Hewitt. Don't talk about Shalimar. 2 seconds into meeting her, we were fucking right into the Big Fun album. She knew in 2 seconds I was the guy to talk about Shalimar with. Jody, one of my favorite fucking people. Who do I put her with? Kenny and fucking Louie. What do? They produce a cover of Ramona Brooks, I Don't Want You Back, which the album never came out, but it was brilliant. And I had them remix Off the Hook. I also had Soul Solution do it. Could they have done that? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've done a lot of shit, but I was the guy. So if that's ego, I guess I have a fucking ego. And I guess I have an ego with Kings of Tamara and fucking the Braxtons. Braxtons, for example. L.A. Reid's brother comes to work for the company. Atlantic Records, low-key, very rock-driven at this time. I'm there. We have Hootie and the Blowfish, Kid Rock, Matchbox 20. Not a black act, even peeping a little bit. This guy walks down the fucking hallway. He's got a fur fucking coat on, diamonds on his fingers that you could fucking blind countries, okay? Hair slicked back. I mean, fucking guy walks in the cologne. He probably had a fucking $50,000 outfit on. I walk into his office. He says, hey, what's up? I'm Bryant Reid. Nice to meet you. Bryant Reid was the guy who signed Tony Braxton. He said, listen, man, I'm bringing Tony's sisters in. We got to do some shit. I heard you're the guy. One of the guys in the urban department said, Johnny D's the fucking guy. You got, because fortunately for me, people knew I knew black music better than fucking most, and I wasn't faking it. So Bryant met me.
Well, I think because they understood that you understood both sides of the game. You understood the actual music, and you also understood the R&B and corporate departments that you were going to have to be working alongside.
Yeah, but
that's the battle. We all know that battle there. It was in every major
league. As far as just even the music, I listening to Harold Melvin all day, or fucking Alexander O'Neal, whatever I was listening to. Like I was constantly, I wasn't sitting there listening to Kid Rock records. So they knew like this is a fucking white guy listening to black music all day. Like he's a black guy. This isn't, this is a guy who's, in other words, Brian, you're a black guy coming as the head of like the black, like. This is your guy. Just don't look at him like he's going to, do some fucking stupid shit. Anyway, I sit down in his office. He goes, yo, man, I was just coming in here and I just heard the boss on the radio. Yo, man, we got to have the girls cover that. You got any people that could do that? Who do I call? Kenny and Louie. Boom. Now, would Bryant Reid ever know Masters at Work? He didn't know them when he walked in that day. So, I'm not blowing myself. That's just what the fuck happened. I mean, these are things with the opportunity. I had to make the decision. Who do I give it to? Now, Kenny and Louie, obviously, internationally, the biggest motherfuckers. I was extremely, I mean, I was like living with fucking Kenny. I was in the studio with these guys all the time. I didn't give them every remix. Not everything was for them. But I think what I gave them was great for them. Whether it was the BB, the fucking Jody, the Braxtons, the Gypsy Kings, you know, whatever it was their kind of thing. Tommy Musto, another one, like my brother. I gave him records that I thought were more, you know, for him. And I try to do this all the time. Obviously, you forget people sometimes. Sometimes some people aren't on your mind. That's just how the game is. But for the most part, I think I was pretty on point. And I thought I gave the people who needed to be there what they needed. Because I think as an A&R person, I will say this, and I'll let you talk, but I will say this as an A&R person. If I call Lenny Fontana to do a mix and I recall you 3 times, that means I fucked up because you weren't the call. Because I shouldn't have to recall you 3 times. Like I feel that when I make the call and say, this guy is for this project, that should be an 85%. You know what? We got to work a little things here and there. It shouldn't be a 3-4 time back and forth. That's my feeling anyway.
Can I give you a question from the audience?
Yes.
This is a really good question. Alvaro Jims, he sent this about 10 minutes ago, and I've been holding this back because you're just at that point. And it's perfect timing. And he says, Johnny, do you think that people perceive you as less credible because of your ethnicity? And how much does that play a role when you're sitting in that chair?
I absolutely think that every one of us, I don't believe anybody who's going to sit here and say, I don't see color. I believe, listen, I remember years ago, there was a backlash on the Puerto Ricans with the black people saying that Puerto Ricans aren't really house. House music is a black thing. I've seen DJs come on and say, if you're not a black gay DJ, you're not a real DJ. I've seen the most outlandish shit said. Listen, music to me is colorless. Okay, me, I'll go from Zeppelin to fucking Run DMC to Old Dirty Bastard to fucking Astrid Gilberto. Like to me, I'm that guy. I'm not saying you have to be there. You could just be into fucking rock, whatever you're into. But I think race and the color of your skin, your ethnicity plays an incredible role in this. I think that it's the better people who can see past it. You know, I was a guy who grew up, my father was very much like, hey, Lenny Fontana, sit down, have something. Lenny, tell me about yourself. What are you? Oh, you're Puerto Rican and Italian. Oh, my father, he would use that and he wanted to get closer to Lenny. That was his thing. So you know what? Everything I know about the Puerto Ricans, I'm going to throw at him. The Italian stuff, he knows I'm going to know already. So whatever. And that's going to be his way of getting close to Lenny. I grew up the same way. I meet somebody, what are you? You're Polish, you this, you that, whatever. And my ex-wife would be like, oh, you sound ignorant. I said, no. That's something that I think I can get closer with someone. Because if I know one funny thing about a Chinese person or a Puerto Rican person or whatever, I think that becomes the icebreaker and the connection. Because I have been in positions, I've been in a meeting in the black department where I'm trying to tell people that Pharrell is going to be the next big thing. And I've had the whole black department look at me. And he had just done this record for Mystical called Shake Your Ass. And this girl gets up and says, Johnny, that record's not big because it's Pharrell. That record's big because it's Mystical. I said, no, Mystical is irrelevant. My fucking sister's ass could have sang that fucking song. It's because of Pharrell. And then like a year and a half later, Pharrell destroyed the fucking music business. But I'm a white guy in a black meeting telling black people, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Very hard. I've been in many meetings that way. Many meetings. I've been the other way where you're like the guy who's white, but musically I'm black, and I'm in some white meeting and I'm listening to their outlandish bullshit about what their philosophy is on the streets. Or, we're going to wrap a truck. And like people are like, what does that mean to wrap a truck? So the answer is yes, it exists. It's very hard to navigate because I really always saw myself more black and more urban than white when it comes to music. I don't let it affect me. I do, however, hate the fact that when I go into a meeting with people who don't know me, what are they going to say? I'm an Italian guy. Here he is, white guy. Oh, another guy thinks he knows fucking black records. Like, and then I gotta like sun them, and I like to sun them because when I drop the bombs, it's next level war because the artillery is unbelievable when I drop it. But it's you got to do it.
Okay, so Hosh Garelli says, because Johnny, you know soul.
Hosh Garelli, my boy.
Fareed Alvarez is saying, preach, brother, preach. And Will Milton and all of them are here. They're all lined up, been listening to you. And I got
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I got a personal question to ask.
Yes.
This was asked of me. And I answered it my way, but I always know this is a good question. What's the biggest thing you regret that you would want to do over differently?
Well, listen, I could answer that and say you can't have regrets, but listen, unfortunately, we all have them. There are people who get philosophical and say, "Oh, you can't let that weigh you down," whatever. Listen, I will say this. I don't know about. I mean, listen, I have regret on some personal shit with property and selling things and maybe some money things that were done stupidly. A regret, which isn't really a regret, but something that I wish I always felt that if I was older, I would have done so much. Like when I look at Hosh, working with Clive, I say to myself, and look at me, Armand Erdogan to me, number one. I mean, if I could have been around Armand Erdogan days, like when he was in his prime, I would have killed for that. But
you talking with him and Jerry Wexler were making all those records,
but the latter part, like with Clive, with Arista, like when he signed Kashif, and he was bringing Narada Michael Walden in to do thing, and Melissa Manchester with Arif, and I always felt the same way I was. Whether it's Musto, Masters at Work, and Todd, or whatever, Armand, I would have been that guy to like secure Narda and Kashif and fucking like all that level of producer, not remixer. That's something I feel like if I would have had that opportunity, I think, because I learned the business fast. I got thrown into the company. I didn't know what I knew of promotion and record pools, but I really didn't know. And when I really got to know mix show and radio and ad day and corruption and payola and all the other bullshit, I was like, this is some fucking horrible, horrible industry. And people would come in with their daughters and they'd like wanna, oh, my daughter wants to be in the music. I'm like, listen, no, don't fucking. They look at me like I was fucking crazy. Girls will leave my room crying. And I'm like, rather than being the prick that like is trying to get over on these people's daughters, I was looking at them like, well, my daughter said, listen, go home, go to fucking college and become a dentist. Like I just saw stuff that was, how do you come back from it? The male chauvinistic, that side of it was horrible. You had the men's club. You had, listen, there was the gay movement coming into it. That was a whole other side of it, which, what if somebody was saying, oh, you're a gay basher? All of a sudden, that was a thing. I had a problem with a guy in Florida one time, and he tried to like say I was a gay basher. I'm just like, where does that come from? I think you're an asshole. I don't give a fuck what your sexual preference is. We don't have a problem over this music. Now you're going to take it there. And thank God I had people, friends of mine in the gay community that immediately stepped up and like, yo, like Johnny D's not that. Like, what are you, fucking crazy? But you know what? That could fucking take you right out. You get something like that, like somebody, oh, I saw this guy playing with a girl in the park. Like, these are things that with the social media and the world we're living in, I mean, anything could be taken out of context. I mean, listen, I'm not saying I'm the fucking most politically correct guy on the planet by any means. I've said, but I'm a funny guy. I try to fucking make light of things. And like I said before,
what do you mean by funny? Like clown, like funny clown?
Exactly. Like I make you laugh. Exactly. Listen,
what do you get? You get amuses?
I will tell you a funny story about Hosh Garelli since he was on there. So I used to go to all the record companies in the late 80s, and everybody was like, Hosh, Hosh, Hosh. I'm like, what the fuck is a Hosh, And that was getting like, what is Hosh? Oh, Hosh. And Joey Carvello and this guy, and everybody's talking about Hosh. And all these records I wanted, I'd go in their desk and I'd see it, send this out to Hosh. I'm like, who is this Hosh guy? So Tony Monty and I used to make, when I got into the business and I met Hosh, and Hosh came to the record side of it. I said, it was so funny. I used to use Hosh's name as like, it went from a noun to a verb, like, you're giving me a Hosh. Like, Hosh became 7 words. You could be Hosh, you could get a Hosh. Hosh was like this godly thing. So it's every time I love, and Hosh supports my radio station. I'm so happy because I know he gets it, and that's what it's about. But every time I hear the word Hosh, I just think about not ever knowing this guy and hearing his name to the point of like, who, what, why is a Hosh? And then we got the Hosh thing. So Hosh is coming up, right? We got to do the Hosh thing.
We got to get Hosh on, but I'll tell you who stepped in. We got Ralphie D from Odyssey 2001.
Ralphie D, nice.
And here's a name I know him very well from back in days. So do you, from DMC. Let's say hello to Guy Ornadell.
Guy Ornadell. Very legendary status right there.
His answer to you is, I feel like I'm back in 1991 New York running DMC.
That was it. Guy had a great run over there. That was a great time, man. That was DMC. That was like, remember they had that office with those windows right in the Village area on Broadway? Oh my
God. Over 920. Guy, it was at 920 Broadway on the corner.
That was just like, that was like a whole other it was just something about
that. When back in those days, we would run around to every label all day. And we sit down. If I walked in your office, I was there for 2 hours. I left there, you got a call. Lenny, go see blah, blah, blah. Go see Tommy over here.
There was nothing like that.
Go to Emotive, go to Strictly, go to Bobby Short MCA, it was a crazy time.
There was nothing. Listen, I remember one time.
Record whoring.
I remember I went to Atlantic Records before I was working there. I was up there going to see somebody, and I went to the bathroom, and there was a guy standing next to me, really, really short, and, just I'm not really paying attention to him, whatever. So, I did go wash my hands. I leave the place, whatever. All of a sudden, I come out, the guy says, Peter. His manager's running after him. It was Peter Frampton. Now, growing up as a kid, everybody at the Frampton Comes Alive album, it was a gatefold. He appeared to be about 12 feet tall. He was the shortest guy, and it always blew my mind. But that was one of those record days.
With really long hair, and he probably didn't have his long hair.
Short. He almost looked like Tommy.
Yeah, you're not looking at him the same way.
He almost looked like Tommy Nappy. That was But yeah, I remember.
Is he the same height as Tommy?
I'll bet he wasn't much taller. I'll tell you that. And I'll tell you one more crazy one. I go see Joey Carvello. When Carvello was, Carvello, I looked at him. Carvello has always been out of his mind. He's never. I'm going for a walk, and he walk around the corner. It just you don't know what's going to go on, Carvello. So one day I walk into his office, and he goes, "Hey, John, come over here. You got to take a walk." So I go walk with him. And this guy named Lou Sicarezza, who I wound up working with years later in Atlantic, which is a great lunatic guy. I go into his office, and Phil Collins is sitting there. Well, he's standing up, and they had Chinese food, and he's sitting there eating his Chinese food, and he shake his hand, whatever, the whole thing. And Carvalho says, I got to show you this video. And he puts a video in. And the video, it's a girl doing some nasty thing into a guy's mouth, right? So now Phil Collins is sitting there eating this Chinese food. I'm trying to even understand because Carvello's out of his fucking mind. So it's Carvello, Lou Sicarezza, myself, Phil Collins. And what does Joey do? He reverses it. So it looks like the guy shooting it into her. I mean, listen, it's one of those, it's in the book and everything, but the fact that it was Joey Carvello, it's Phil Collins. But yeah, I mean, listen, those were the.
Wait. Let me get the picture correct. Phil Collins is eating like this, right? He's eating.
And you know what?
So
he never stopped.
He's watching so he's got his eyes peeled on Joey's TV. You're watching this, and you're probably going, "I don't believe what this guy's eating."
Couldn't believe it. It didn't bother him. He had a good appetite, Phil.
Susudio, baby.
Yes. So,
Johnny, I think we're at a point now. We're going to wrap this right here to the next part, and I'll let you explain this. We understand what you did then. We understand when you were a young kid. We understand you grew up in the business. You broke your ass. You helped open a lot of doors for a lot of guys because you cared for them. You loved their music. You were a big fan of them. You became lifelong friends with some of these people.
It starts, you know what? Let me just say that, man. It all starts with being a fan of music. End of story. All about that. Love for music is the number one reason for all of this.
Okay. You got the radio station going on. Where do you see yourself taking this all? What's the next plan? What's the big plan for you? What are you thinking?
Listen, as I said before, I think it'll be really hard for me to get back in on the other side, but I would love to get in a position. I don't want to say Spotify series, but one of these places where I'm in a position to educate, to give my knowledge. You know, I think what I offer is important. I need to reach more people and more people, books, the station, whatever it is. I just want more music to be exposed to people. It's new, old, whatever genre. That I really feel that's the reason I'm here. Like I look at things and I've had a phenomenal career. I can't look back, and like I said, I don't really have many regrets on the music side as far as my job is concerned. But I feel like with the station and the way it connects with people, the way it connects with me, I'm a listener. So I program, but I listen to it constantly. And I remove myself as the person that's putting it together. Just like I listening to, oh shit, that was Bo Donaldson into Zeppelin into fucking Gotta See You Tonight, Barbara Roy. It's like, who's doing this? Nobody's doing it, which is great. So I really want to just keep moving forward. And you know what? I will say this. I want to be a person that's a little bit more like this, because I find that most people who do things in this business or do anything today, they're looking at social media. You only have this many views. You only have this many followers. That is the wrong way to live life. I look at it like when my time is right, whether my book is going to start selling New York Times things or my station's going to get 5 trillion listeners, it's going to happen when it's going to happen. I don't want to do any false bullshit and to trickery to, oh, wow, look, he's got 10 million followers. I'm not that guy. I just want to focus on what I'm doing and keep going the way I'm going. I don't want to be distracted. I think that's going to be the hardest part for me, because whenever you meet with people, what do people say? Oh, it's got Lenny Fontana. It's great. How many followers does he have? Oh, listen, Lenny, you put me in touch with people about gigs. You know, I got very turned off by one of them with, oh, how many people are you going to draw? The fuck do I know? Like, who the fuck knows that? I've seen the biggest names in their hometown with 7 people in a fucking club. I mean, who's to say? And I found it more insulting just for the fact that I've been in the fucking game for as long as I have been. So I'm just going forward. I'm trying to just really have the blinders on and not be as concerned with a lot of the outsides. Of course I'm affected, but I have to stay the course of what I want to do. So whether that's when I'm putting out records. Oh, by the way, I want to give my man Will Alonzo a shout out. I have another label on Brooklyn South, which I've had for a while, and he connected with me a while ago. So listen, man, why don't we do some collabo shit? I'll A&R it. I'll have a whole sound I want to bring, and it's been really successful. And thanks to Track Source and you know, all.
Wait! One last question, Petey Cuomo.
Petey, my man.
Yeah, another Brooklynite. He wants to know how you came into this craziness of collecting kicks, your sneakers.
I think that was a Kenny thing. I think one of the most dangerous things for me was being very close with Kenny. Kenny and I were very similar with records and culture, and Kenny was a sneaker guy, and I caught it from him. And I mean, I haven't really collected in a long time, but I had over 600 at one point. And yeah, it was dangerous when Kenny and I were together. Very dangerous. So I'm calming down.
And on that note,
so
thank
you for having me, and thank you for all that.
Oh, sorry, Petey, Queens guy. I'm sorry. I thought another.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I thought Petey. I apologize. Queens.
Yes.
Fareed Alvarez. Thanks you.
I love my man. Fareed.
He loves you. Ralphie, John Donato came on. Norbert, Jimmy B from Staten Island. And I want to say a big shout out to the one that broke a lot of records for all of us on his radio station in the Bristol area, Deli G.
Deli G, absolutely, man. Deli G. Shout out to my man CJ and Ashley.
CJ.
Overseas. I got nothing.
Oh, and I also ask one quick question. I saw you and Musto starting to get back in the studio. Is this going to be something constant? Is Musto Musto stepping back in? What's the story?
So I mean, Nikki and I are doing records. I'm doing records with a bunch of people. Tommy and I started a thing called Organic Disco. Got a lot of things coming. Mikey Moro's involved with some stuff. We got a lot of really.
Oh, Mikey Moro too. Oh, okay, cool.
I got a lot of cool disco-y kind of stuff coming, and listen, man. I sat back for years and watched a lot of people playing with my tapes, so I decided to
playing with your tapes.
And by the way, I will end on this one. I did a Candy State mix of my favorite record of all time, When You Wake Up Tomorrow, with percussion by Joe Clausell. So let's not that was a little cherry on the cake there. When you hear that mix, that's going to be some next level. I should have given you the Chance album, When You Wake Up Tomorrow. But anyway, I did this mix, and Joe Clausell blessed me with. We had a good time, man. That's going to be coming soon. So we got some things going. We got some things going on.
On that note, God bless Johnny. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Don't leave yet, Johnny. Don't leave yet, because I got to thank you. Okay. Everyone, check this out. So I'm staying in house music. Next week, I'm bringing a female with power to the game, and she's going to talk her story. We got the incomparable Crystal Waters coming on to tell us her journey with the Basement Boys, coming up in the business, creating one of the most iconic la-da-dee-da-da songs that we all know that went full pop commercial.